The S&D followed the Stour Gap past Charlton Marshall.
In July 1856, the construction of a 10-mile single-line track railway linking Wimborne with Blandford was authorised at an estimated cost of £128,000. The Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway Company was then formed in August of 1863. Walking along the track near Spetisbury School, I could hear the heavy puffing sound of the Pines Express pulling out of Blandford. It echoed across the Stour Valley. All went quiet as it passed through the cutting at Blandford St Mary. All of a sudden it appeared from Charlton Marshall, and at speed. I had to run like hell to grab hold of a telegraph pole just in time as it sped by. The clatter and the windrush was very frightening. Excavation started at Blandford St Mary and celebrated by a ceremony at a cost of £224, 13 and sixpence, including £71 for wine. Spetisbury and Charlton Marshall stations now made it possible to travel almost anywhere on the British Railway network, with popular seaside towns now accessible. The Pines Express passed through Spetisbury at exactly 4:20 p.m. every day, and you could set your clock by it. On the 1st of November 1860, the single line opened into passenger traffic from Bailey-Gate to Blandford. Spetisbury consisted of a single platform, timber-built waiting room and a booking office with very basic facilities. This route from Wimborne to Blandford would take around 5 years to build at a cost of £150,000. That's probably £40 million in today's money. In the late 1940s, the railways were nationalised and the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway became part of British Railways.
A fireman's job was not all hard labour.
You were learning the road, you were helping the driver, you were keeping an eye out all the time, so you could have a look around. People shouldn't get the idea that you picked the shovel up at Bournemouth and put it down at Bath, because you didn't. You knew that your fire was made up ready when you left Bournemouth, and you would fire accordingly. If you did, you want about 3 tenderfuls of coal, wouldn't you?
The S&D was known for characters.
Muggins Brewer, he was a case. He was good to me. I mean, I used to go fishing with him. He used to have a few tales to tell, you know, when he said there was this rabbit sitting on the bank, he said, and a pike. He said, "You see these big pike jump out the river and grabbed this rabbit and took it back in." He said, "But it was all right," he said, "because I caught him." He said, "And we had rabbit and pike pie." Oh, yeah, rubbish. And he said, some of these people used to swallow it. And I used to think, oh, you must have gone to a different river than me, Bertie boy.
On the 31st of October 1860, the first passenger train left Wimborne for Blandford. The church bells rang out and most tradesmen closed their shops. A procession was formed in the marketplace by the 6th Dorchester Rifles. They marched to Blandford St Mary to await the arrival of the first train. The embankments were lined with over 2,500 excited spectators. On arrival, the train was met by loud cheers, and a celebration at the Corn Exchange went on till 4 a.m. On the 31st of August 1934, Spetisbury was eventually downgraded to an unstaffed halt. On a clear night in May 1940, a well-known engine driver on this route, Donald Beale, was fireman on a royal train carrying King George VI and Queen Elizabeth to inspect the troops at Blandford Camp. Passing through Spetisbury at 60 miles an hour with a Black 5 engine, he noticed a silhouette of a security guard with a rifle on this bridge. Fear of an imminent German invasion in 1940, some of the bridges on this route Particularly river crossings were wired with explosives for destruction. In 1883, a coupling broke on a passenger train. The driver arrived at Blandford only then to find out half his train was at Spetisbury. In 1888, the platform at Spetisbury was extended to include a brick-built ladies' waiting room at a cost of £94. In November of 1857, it was reported that the navvies making the deep cutting through Castle Hill at Spetisbury Rings discovered a large quantity of human bones, swords, daggers and spearheads and other Roman artefacts. The cutting was then diverted around the site for its preservation. In 1899, work began to add a second line between Bailey Gate and Blandford at a cost of £35,000. Most of the bridges were already built to take the two tracks. In April 1901, the new up line was opened through Spetisbury and the new up platform added, with steps built for access. A signal box was also built at a cost of £450 with a line crossover switch added. The signal box was closed in August of 1952, having seen very little use. In January of 1918, the crossover points were removed, saving £28 per year in maintenance costs. Further cost-cutting measures were made in 1922 by making the station master at Spetisbury redundant, saving £200 per year. In 1905, it was reported that a female passenger was indecently assaulted on the train from Blandford. She jumped out just before Spetisbury, reporting the incident to the station master at Spetisbury Station. The man was then arrested at Wimborne.
Being younger, it didn't register like it would do now. You just took it in your stride, I suppose. But if it happened now, well then you sort of worry a little bit. But in those days, being young and silly, I suppose, you didn't think much about it. Not as a fireman, anyway.
In 1878, staff at Spetisbury Station observed a goods train going past, heading for Blandford. 5 minutes later, another goods train rolled into the station on the same line. To the surprise of the staff, without an engine, a coupling had broken just before approaching Spetisbury. Spetisbury Halt eventually closed to passenger traffic in September 1956. In 1966, all passenger traffic ceased. In the 1950s, with growing and more convenient road transport, passenger and freight transport on the railways had started to go into rapid decline.
Local traffic was falling out of favour.
A firm called Blandford and Webb's used to have a big shed there. They used to have to shunt the shed with animal feed, fertilizers. They used to do all agricultural stuff, and at certain times of the year you'd have a whole train, 30-40 wagons of fertilizer come in bags, all bagged up in these box wagons. One of the shunters at Blandford, Ginger, he knew the owner and all that of Blandford and Webb's, and they had a letter from the old British Rail saying that they could still have their fertilizer, but they would have to go to Poole to collect them. The trouble was that, like this chap said, if he was going to do that, he'd just buy lorries and go to Avonmouth and collect them.
The Somerset and Dorset went for scrap. Its cuttings infilled, its stations acceptable sites for industrial development.
In 1967, I was a driver at Eastleigh, and they were taking up the S&D then, like at Shillingstone and all that, and they were loading it on wagons and sort of gradually heading south, taking it up. And that was quite a sad day, really. I had to go to Blandford with a Crompton and pick up a load of rails and stuff that they loaded up, you know, and take it up to Eastleigh. That was the last time I ever went up on the S&D.
Keith Sloper captures the atmosphere.
Rolling those station, that would come the signalman and have a yarn about his onions or his potatoes, and you know, so talk about a bit of gardening. You know, it's incredible over there. It was more of a family than what, you know, although Bournemouth, I think we were a family in lots of ways, but over there I think it was a real family, you know. And, but you get down through Sturminster and all along there, Sturminster, Newton, you follow the river down, like, you know, it's always sort of a pleasant sort of area. You kind of think they're playing us.
The upline was lifted in 1967 at Spetisbury, lasting only 66 years. On the 3rd of November 1968, the very last passenger train, the Hampshireman Enthusiast Rail Tour, hauled by the new Class 47 diesel electric, which ran from Broadstone through Spetisbury to Blandford and back to Broadstone.
Branksome men had strong preferences.
Well, you know much about the old Black Fives. I mean, they were, to me, they were the best engines that I ever worked on. Go anywhere, do anything. You know, the old sayings that if they wanted an engine to go anywhere, just pick a Black Five and it would go there. The standard Fives, they weren't on a par with a Stanier Black, but they weren't far off, I would say. With the Fives, you could fire them similar to you did the Staniers. You know, you could have a nice big fire in them, but the other ones you wanted light fire. The 76s were, I suppose, were a better one than the 75s.
The maximum speed limit through Spetisbury was 70 miles an hour, but in 1965, fireman Mike Baker recalls after leaving Blandford, the regulator was opened up and the speedometer recorded 95 miles an hour as it passed through Spetisbury. all that work to build this line at an incredible speed by the Victorians with basic equipment, it was built to last for 1,000 years, only to last for little more than a lifetime of 112 years.